This past weekend in Yokohama, Japan, the Pokemon Go Japan Championships were held. This is a tournament in which trainers all throughout Japan descended on Yokohama to compete for the opportunity to win an invitation to the Pokemon Go World Championships later this year in Anaheim, California. With much at stake, trainers knew they had to bring their best. This is the second official championship of the Delightful Days meta update. The first, occurring the week previously, was the North American International Championships, where we came into it honestly not really knowing what to expect, but left with its accent taking home the crown with his signature Araquanid, and with a very spicy Pokemon and very frail Pokemon, Shadow Scizor, grabbing 2 medal placements as well. So, as eyes turn to Yokohama, Japan, it appears these trainers had been paying attention to the North American International Championships, as Shadow Scizor ended up stealing the show. Not only did Shadow Scizor end up winning the entire event, but 5 of the top 8 trainers at the tournament ended up bringing Shadow Scizor. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Let's take a look at some matches from the Pokemon Go Japan Championship Series featuring Shadow Scizor. The first match we'll be taking a look at is from the semifinals. The trainer on the left, Naomon Kichi, is currently the rank 1 battler in the world on the Go Battle League leaderboards. The trainer on the right, Salted Koji, has made it to 3,500 ELO and top 10 in the world previously. For Naomon, the team consists of Shadow Dragonite, Dusclops, Shadow Quagsire, Galarian Weezing, Shadow Scizor, and Diggersby. For Koji, Primeape, Azumarill, Shadow Scizor, a Bullet Seed Credilli, Unova Stunfisk, and Air Slash Mandibuzz. The trainers take time thinking things over for this important best of 3 series. The leads are set for game 1, and it's a disastrous lead for Salted Koji as it's Air Slash Mandibuzz into Galarian Weezing. There's a safe switch into Bullet Seed Credilli, and Naomon is going to choose to stay in this matchup and chip with a Sludge before sending out Dusclops. Dusclops obviously will be able to hit for super effective damage with Ice Punch. Dusclops will immediately be debuffed by this Credilli thanks to that healthy energy lead it got versus the Galarian Weezing. So Rock Tomb is going to land Dusclops in a very comfortable position to retain switch advantage, firing off this Ice Punch instantly, but Ice Punch, not a very strong move without same type attack bonus, and it's been debuffed as well, so Credilli is able to hang on. Credilli will now get to fire off Rock Tomb number 2. This is going to be getting some pretty nice damage onto the Dusclops. Switch timer's up, and now it's time. The star of the show, Shadow Scizor, gets to hit the field. And taking a look across Naomon's team, Naomon doesn't really have Pokemon that can deal fast move damage to the Scizor. So for Salted Koji, it's a very safe no-shield to no-shield that debuff Shadow Punch. Because now, if you're Naomon, how do you get rid of Scizor? The answer is, it's not going to be very easy to do. All your fast moves remaining are resisted. This is now a boosted Scizor, which means these bullet punches are going to be applying even more pressure. The Diggersby will go for the Fire Punch, being able to pull shields away from the Scizor, but Scizor's just so far ahead. Scizor now going to fire off Trailblaze number 2. Diggersby gets both shield calls right, but this is now a double boosted Scizor, and it's looking to run rampant in this endgame. Shadow Scizor will put up the final shield. There's the switch into the Weezing. Look at the double boosted bullet punches as Shadow Scizor in a split second has removed almost the entirety of Weezing's health bar. Night Slash on charge attack priority, that is double boosted as well. The Scizor will finally be removed from the field of play, but not before it got rid of almost an entire Weezing and an entire Diggersby. In comes the Mandibuzz. This was the lead to start the match. Mandibuzz into the Weezing, a very terrible lead, but it's just so fine for Salted Koji now, as Salted Koji is going to be able to slowly whittle away at Diggersby's remaining health. Diggersby just at too much of a health deficit here. There is no recovering. The foul play is going to land. Diggersby just not going to throw a single move here, recognizing there's just no ability to win this game. This foul play is going to deliver the knockout, and that is going to be a Game 1 win for Salted Koji. Adjustments will need to be made for game number 2. The first line was way too weak to Shadow Scizor, and Shadow Scizor just absolutely dominated. So we do see an important adjustment in game 2. It's going to be Dusclops hitting the field, but Salted Koji stuck with the Mandibuzz, and Salted Koji now has an amazingly good lead. Safe switch into Diggersby, but disaster strikes. In comes Bullet Seed Credilli, and Diggersby does not have an ability to flip this. And flipping switch is imperative in this moment, because if you don't flip switch, you know. There's the Galarian Weezing in the back. The team so far is ABA weak to the Galarian Weezing. It's very highly likely that the Galarian Weezing is going to be met with a hard counter in the back. And as we take a look at Salted Koji's backline, it's going to be that Shadow Scizor. The second Scorching Sands is reached by Diggersby, but Credilli just does not have to care. The fact that these quick attacks are resisted is why this matchup is so commanding for Credilli. Credilli now gets to farm up almost to the back-to-back charge attacks, and Diggersby just in absolute shambles. Diggersby, however, is going to try and make a play for alignment. The Scizor in the back, obviously going to want to try and keep switch advantage, but if the Diggersby double shields, then it could give Koji some pause, because Shadow Scizor is a very, very frail Pokemon. Even in its good matchups, it prefers to have at least one shield to hide behind because it does not take charge attacks very well. So, in this scenario, switch advantage may actually be able to be secured. This is a tough decision point in the match for Koji. Koji is going to choose to no shield. Switch advantage has been lost. But now, it's Shadow Scizor time. Scizor gets the Bullet Punch head start. That means it's going to outpace the Dusclops that normally gives it pacing trouble. The Night Slash is reached. This is super effective damage. This is from a Shadow Scizor, and it's going to seriously hurt as Dusclops gets absolutely rocked. Dusclops is going to be firing off this Shadow Punch. The next move is going to be reached by Scizor on charge attack priority. Scizor will commit the shield. Are we going to see a catch now onto the Galarian Weezing? There is the catch of the Night Slash, but this is just still not going to be enough to secure a victory as the Shadow Scizor is just going to gain way too much ground. No boost comes through from the Scizor, but look at the damage. A catch attempt on the Brutal Swing. No catch does come through, but the Mandibuzz is healthy enough that it can survive multiple sludges. That's not going to be an issue, and Scizor will still be in a pretty good spot, one away from the Night Slash. Another sludge is reached by the Galarian Weezing, but it's just too little, too late. The damage that Shadow Scizor was able to cause is just completely unrecoverable. Mandibuzz going for the Aerial Ace. This will finally be able to knock out the Galarian Weezing. And then all that's left is going to be that Dusclops. Dusclops firing off the super effective Ice Punch, but this is just not going to be enough to knock out. Mandibuzz will be able to hang on. Switch timer coming up shortly here, but it's not even needed. One Air Slash KOs, and Salted Koji advances to the finals. In the finals, Salted Koji was going to be matched up against Kento Sarunori, an incredible trainer who has hit 3,500 and rank 1 in the world on previous occasions. Now, Kento Sarunori's team features Mandibuzz, Shadow Kanto Marowak, Tinkaton, Shadow Dusclops, Greninja, and Credilli. So a few Pokemon in common with Salted Koji's team, but a few important differences. The main difference that I do want to focus on is the difference in steel types. Tinkaton for Kento Sarunori, and the Shadow Scizor for Koji. Scizor going to do amazingly against the Tinkaton, and outside of Mandibuzz being able to wall the energy, honestly, Shadow Scizor again looks largely unchecked into Kento Sarunori's team. So this is definitely going to be an uphill battle if he wants to survive the wrath of Scizor. In game number 1, Shadow Marowak is the lead, and it's met with the Bullet Seed Credilli. Credilli having Bullet Seed does definitely make life uncomfortable for the Marowak, as it does improve Credilli's pacing, and Credilli also gets access to that super effective damage. Marowak will go straight for the Bone Club, and we will see an instant no-shield from Credilli. Credilli able to absorb that damage, but now this does give Marowak the ability to double shield and fully commit to a farm down and guarantee switch advantage. Even though Bullet Seed is super effective, it doesn't add up a ton over time, so the Marowak can exit very healthy. Marowak trying to CMP tie, but Credilli not going to fall for that. Koji instead just going to take the free Bullet Seed. Koji will shield, so Koji is looking to force both shields away from Kento Sarunori. And now, a decision point in the match and an instant shield on the Marowak. Marowak will get the farm down to win alignment, but when Azumarill comes out, we could very well see a pivot into the Dusclops. Understanding that if it's the Scizor in the back, the Marowak energy will be needed, but there's no pivot. Instead, Kento Sarunori is going to play for switch advantage. Keeping the switch advantage, putting Tinkaton onto the Azumarill, where it's able to wall off its energy, but in doing so, this means that Shadow Scizor will not have to deal with all of Marowak's energy. Instead, Marowak's energy lands on the Azumarill, which is exactly where Salted Koji would prefer it to land. The bubble down will occur. This is going to be Tinkaton getting brought into the Azumarill, Fairy type versus Fairy type, and we should see an instant switch into Shadow Scizor. There it is, Scizor going to hit the field, answered with the Shadow Dusclops. And now, Scizor. This is a Shadow versus Shadow Night Slash. This is going to inflict way too much damage. Night Slash is going to land, absolutely rocking that Shadow Dusclops, and Scizor won't even have to throw another move. Instead, Scizor will be able to commit to a full farm down and exit with energy to be able to inflict some serious damage onto the bulky Tinkaton. Tinkaton is going to hit the field. This is not Bulldoze range. Tinkaton is going to need a Play Rough to be able to knock out. This Trailblaze will land, dealing vital damage to this Tinkaton. Play Rough will be able to knock out the Shadow Scizor, and it's going to be all up to Azumarill. Azumarill will need back-to-back Play Roughs to take home the win. One bubble and the Play Rough. No, opting for the Ice Beam. This is a strict misplay from Salted Koji, as Ice Beam will not help you get to a Play Rough any faster. Instead, could have just gone for the double Play Rough here. The good news is, it's not going to matter. This game will be a win, but if the Tinkaton had a little bit more health, maybe it could have mattered, but in this instance, Play Rough will KO, and Salted Koji is one win away from being crowned champion. For game number 2, Shadow Scizor is going to be on the lead once again for Koji, and it again finds a target in Tinkaton. Kento Sarunori tries to switch out, but he accidentally threw a fast move, and that is disastrous, as this now means that instead of Dusclops outpacing, Dusclops is going to end up behind. So Dusclops forced to put up a shield on the Night Slash, and now in comes Azumarill. Azumarill, the damage sponge, able to absorb Shadow Punch after Shadow Punch. And this is a big problem, as ideally, he would have hoped that the energy on the Dusclops could have been able to potentially pressure a shield back, try and make a difference in this game, but unfortunately, Azumarill can just absorb these hits. Shadow Punch after Shadow Punch, it's just simply not going to matter. Azumarill playing to the Charge Attack priority tie, safe in the knowledge that this Shadow Punch will come nowhere near knocking out. This Play Rough onto a Shadow Dusclops honestly may threaten a potential farm down after this move lands. No shield, Kento Sarunori's already given up one, he cannot afford to give up another. Azumarill gonna look for the farm down, gets the farm down. Maybe Tinkaton can farm, no, there's an aggressive pivot. In comes the Shadow Scizor, and Kento Sarunori is shaking his head. He knows he's in trouble, as this Shadow Scizor is just an absolute wrecking ball against everything that it faces. Shadow Scizor is gonna get fully farmed down, but it's already generated such an advantage. It dealt so much damage to everything in its path, and in comes Azumarill. It was getting close to an Ice Beam, and this forces energy from the Marowak. Marowak now going to fire off the Bone Club that will pick up the knockout, and it's all up to Primeape to try and close out the game. But Primeape is exactly where it wants to be in the 2-0 shield scenario. Primeape going to give up the first shield, continuing to farm up a bunch of energy. We're going to see a switch and a catch of the Rage Fist. Kento Sarunori doing everything he can to try and fight back in this matchup. But even with that catch, Primeape just seems absolutely unstoppable. Primeape will be now met with a Bulldoze. This is going to be shielded up, and he just needs the double close combats. And Primeape will be able to get there. The Bulldoze does apply the debuff. Close combat number 2 is reached. It's Charge Attack priority, and we see the pop-off celebration from Salted Koji. This is a boosted close combat, taking down Tinkaton. In comes the Marowak, and this is massive overkill, but there's no better way to end a tournament, and Salted Koji is the 2025 Japan Pokemon Go champion and will be qualifying for the World Championships in Anaheim later this year. All in all, one of my favorite things about this game is seeing how people from different regions of the world like to approach the meta. It's honestly been a pretty constant theme that anytime we see tournaments from different regions of the world are going to have different ideas on what they think is strong. So it was really cool to see after NAIC when we had a few Shadow Scizors played, and it did have 2 good placements at 3rd and 4th respectively, to see in the Japan qualifiers Shadow Scizor have such a dominant display. It's very clear these trainers had high belief in Shadow Scizor from its monster usage rate among the top finishers, and it was really cool to see Scizor take home the championship. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, my name is Home Slice Henry, and this is the More Slice Henry channel, my second channel where I primarily post content centered around the Pokemon Go Championship Series, and in general, just educational content, outside the box, Go Battle League content, stuff like that. So if that intrigues you, then definitely leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.